7 bizarre deaths.
The helicopter blade suddenly tore off and, at a crazy speed, flew straight into the pilot's cabin. If I hadn't seen this incident recorded, I would have never believed such a horrific coincidence could have happened in real life. In this video, I've compiled the most epic accident footage ever caught on camera, with each story getting weirder and weirder. So, watch till the end, and, as always, viewer discretion is advised.
Wait, you do blur out the gory parts, right? You do that, right?
3rd, 2013, in Lake Superior, Wisconsin, several skydivers were jumping out of a plane. Mike Robinson was about to make his 4th jump of the day. Along with his colleagues, he approached the exit. Suddenly, at an altitude of over 3,500 meters, near Lake Superior, something unexpected happened. Another plane with skydivers started approaching them at high speed. It collided with the wing just as a few men stood by the open door, ready to jump. The collision moment looks like a scene from an action movie. Imagine what the skydivers felt at that moment. One tried to hold on to the bar, but fell along with the wing. They had to act immediately.
Oh
so
my
the
God.
rest of the people on board began jumping out chaotically, risking collision with debris. Staying inside the plane meant certain death. In midair, Mike looked up and saw the plane turning into a fiery ball spiraling down. Luckily, all the skydivers on board were professionals, with hundreds, if not thousands, of jumps behind them. For Mike, this was his 937th jump. Yet it's the one he'll remember forever.
Wait. This is bizarre death, so I'm guessing they got parachutes, right? I'm guessing no one died.
Thanks to their skill and experience, they managed to steer their parachutes to avoid the burning parts of the plane falling. But what about the pilots?
Crazy.
One of them also jumped out with a parachute, while the other managed to land the less damaged plane. Despite the scale of the crash, the skydivers only got bruises and muscle aches. However, I know an even more terrifying story that happened in the sky. Here, balloons are involved.
Alright, that one was just a bizarre accident then. That wasn't a bizarre death. That was a bizarre accident.
On April 20th, 2008, Odilier Antonio de Carli, a Brazilian Catholic priest, set out to break a 19-hour flight record using helium balloons. This was his second attempt. In January, he had covered 30 kilometers using 600 balloons. With their help, he reached an altitude of 5,300 meters. It looked spectacular. Odilier's creative flight was meant to draw...
Why would you do this? Why would you do this? He wants to recreate up. Bro, what? What if you get a bird strike, you're done.
meters. It looked spectacular. Odilier's creative flight was meant to draw attention to his church on wheels.
Hey, Stray, appreciate it. Tier 1, Stray.
Where parishioners called him Padre de Bello. He aimed to use this epic flight to attract more donations for the community's benefit. The event drew many spectators and press, just as Padre de Bello wanted. But things didn't go as planned. The weather turned cloudy and it started to rain. Despite the conditions, the priest didn't want to cancel his attempt, which was a mistake. At 1 p.m., the journey officially began. In this video, you can see Odilier sitting in a chair attached to about 1,000 balloons. And to the excited cheers of the crowd, he rose to an altitude of 5,800 meters, even higher than he expected. Odilier planned to end his flight in Dourados, Mato Grosso do Sul, after 20 hours. Nothing seemed amiss, as Carli had all the necessary safety gear.
Yo, bro, I'm sat here scared of just flying in planes. Yeah? This guy is flying with 1,000 balloons and that's it. This just proves I shouldn't be scared of play. But then again, I'm guessing he does die.
Higher than he expected. Odilier planned to end his flight in Dourados.
Hey, wait, Stray? Wait, tier 3 6 months in advance? Stray, you definitely know Maisie, don't you? Stray. Buy your username and tier 3 6 months. I know for a fact you know Maisie, don't you? You know Maisie. I know you do. I know you do.
Mato Grosso do Sul after 20 hours. Nothing seemed amiss, as Carli had all the necessary safety gear. A parachute, helmet, waterproof suit,
Maisie,
GPS
you're
device,
crazy.
mobile phone, satellite phone, aluminum thermal suit, and at least a 5-day food and water supply.
Yo, ain't no way I'm doing that unless I got a jetpack as well, bro. Like, there's just no way.
He periodically reported his location to the Brazilian Navy. The last
Hell yeah,
time
Maisie.
Adelier called was at 8:45 p.m., and he was never heard from again. The Brazilian Air Force and firefighters started searching near the Santa Catarina coast where he was likely to be. They looked through the ocean for 4 days but then stopped, as the chance of Adelier surviving in those conditions were slim.
Hey, yo, what if he just kept floating upwards and he's in space? You might want to get NASA to have a look around the atmosphere, bro. What if bro's just up there floating in space?
His loved ones and parishioners were devastated when finally, on July 4th, the remnants of the balloons and Padre de Bello himself were found in the ocean, 100
yikes.
kilometers from Makey. However, it turned out to be only half of his body. No one still knows exactly what happened to him, whether he injured himself during the fall or was attacked by an underwater predator. But this story is truly chilling. The priest's noble intentions make the story even more tragic. The only thing worse might be taking risks just for the adrenaline rush. Fabio Ezequiel de Moraes went with his family to a bridge in Sao Paulo, Brazil, for the thrill of bungee jumping. Inspired by his father's enthusiasm, his 6-year-old son desperately wanted to jump with him. Fabio was struck by his son's bravery and agreed. However, when it came time to put on the gear, Fabio reconsidered and told his son that he was too young and it would be better if he just watched and cheered for him this time. The video shows Fabio standing at the abyss's edge and then jumping headfirst into the valley below. However, I can't show you what happened to Fabio the next second. Due to a miscalculation by the bungee jumping instructors, instead of stopping a few meters above the ground, Fabio fell onto the rocks from a 40-meter height. He passed away right before his young son's eyes. Although this story breaks my heart, everyone knows bungee jumping is risky. Yet there is a video of a tragic incident that initially...
Yo, how do you measure the rope, bro? Wouldn't you be like double, triple, quadrupling checking that? Oh, hell no.
Didn't even seem like it could be dangerous.
Mad.
On June 14th, 2008, Japanese fans of a funny TV show were watching a live broadcast from Television Miyazaki. Tetsushi Yanagita, a reporter for the program, attended a quirky competition held in a rice field in Tokakyo-cho to show it live. The rules were simple and somewhat childish. 2 participants had to stand back to back on a platform.
Hold on. You're telling me this is the camera they use?
And somewhat childish.
This footage. There ain't no way, bro. That big of a camera to capture this? Hey, they've been scammed. They've been scammed. They gotta take that camera back, bro. They gotta take that camera back.
2 participants had to stand back to back on a platform and push each other with their butts until one fell into the muddy waters. The one who stayed on the platform was declared the winner.
Oh yeah, true. They are 50 years behind. Yeah, true. Fair enough.
While the loser had to wash off the mud in humiliation. At first glance, this competition seemed like the worst you could expect were some bruises and wet pants.
How does someone die?
So when the participants invited reporter Tetsushi to join the fun, he got caught up in the excitement. The video shows that Tetsushi had little chance right from the start. He quickly lost his balance and jumped off the platform into the mud like in the pool, landing head first. The water was about 15 centimeters deep, with a thick mud layer underneath. This made Tetsushi fall anything but soft. The reporter broke his neck and couldn't move. His body was completely paralyzed. Not knowing about Tetsushi's serious injury, the crew thought he was joking, so they began playfully pushing his face further into the mud for losing. The players had no idea that during their antics, Tetsushi was desperately struggling to survive, unable to lift his head out of the water to take a breath. He almost blacked out, hearing the hysterical laughter of the participants ringing in his ears. Later, they pulled Tetsushi up, only to toss him back into the water again. TV viewers probably found these playful antics amusing too. It looks like a scene straight out of Black Mirror. Tetsushi remained partially paralyzed for life. It's horrifying to go to work and have no idea that your workday could...
Wait, why did he dive head first into it though? Like, surely you know, like, the layer from just stepping in it. Surely.
End in a sudden tragedy, just like what happened to the construction workers at the Hard Rock Hotel in New Orleans, in Louisiana, USA. On October 12, 2019, at 9:12 a.m., workers felt the structure shake before it started collapsing right under their feet. This epic collapse was caught on camera by a bystander. It's chilling to watch, yet hard to look away.
Oh my God.
However, it'll become painful to watch once I tell you that 3 construction workers lost their lives under the rubble, and 30 were taken to the hospital with injuries. The bodies of 2 of the deceased, Jose Ponce Areola and Quinyon Wimberly, remained trapped under the ruins for 3 months.
3 months?
All because the structural engineer improperly designed and failed to check the steel bolt connections holding the building together. Before the collapse, another construction worker, Ramirez Palma, tried to warn project supervisors about several issues with the structure, one of which was unreliable support. Still, he was told to ignore these findings.
Well, okay, they all need to be sat then.
Only after the tragedy did the mayor of New Orleans order the entire building to be demolished. Next up, I have a story about another surprisingly dangerous profession.
They all need
driver.
sacking.
One day in June 2019, the residents of Tadoussac were shaken by a terrifying incident. In broad daylight, near the local ferry terminal, a van suddenly veered off the highway and sped straight toward people. Pedestrians scattered in all directions to avoid being hit while the van headed toward the river. Behind the wheel was Eric Bellick. Those who managed to catch a glimpse of the driver noticed the fear on his face. Something was wrong, and he wasn't doing this on purpose.
Okay.
Eric was deeply worried about the pedestrians and the passenger in the van with him. Yet he realized the crash was inevitable. As it turned out, the van's mechanism had malfunctioned, and Eric simply couldn't stop it. He was yelling and honking, urging people to get out of the way. But that wasn't the only problem. Right ahead of him in the water was a ferry loaded with passengers standing on the back deck, enjoying the scenic views. The loading ramp leading to the ferry was just beginning to lift. The video captures the moment the van speeds across it, launching into the air. It's the kind of scene you often see in epic movie chase sequences, where the vehicle lands on it.
Wait. He's still able to turn the steering wheel though, right? Why don't you just turn it in circles? Or like turn it into like, I don't know, into like a bush or, I don't know, find something.
It's the kind of scene you often see in epic movie chase sequences, where the vehicle lands on its wheels, and everyone survives. That only happens in the movies though. The van crashed into the ferry and was completely wrecked. Fortunately, the people on the ferry weren't hurt, and the woman and driver were found alive in the wreckage of the van, although seriously injured. They were immediately taken to the hospital. Unfortunately, the driver passed away a few hours later. Something about this story does resemble a Hollywood movie.
What?
And it's the heroic act of Eric.
Yo, he should have like scraped along something, gone into, I don't know, bro. I feel like he had enough time to figure out how to, survive in this situation. I don't know.
Witnesses say the consequences could have been worse. The driver tried to stop by crashing into metal gates to avoid plowing into the crowd.
Oh,
he managed to slow the van down for a few seconds, saving lives. However, there's a story where the driver couldn't react so quickly. In March 2024, 46 pilgrims from Gaborone were traveling by bus to an Easter conference in Limpopo Province, South Africa, on the Mamatlakala mountain pass. Between Mokopane and Marken. The driver lost control, and the bus plunged off the road, crashing onto the rocky surface from a height of 50 meters. The most horrifying part was that the bus caught fire after the crash. People inside burned alive. Of the 46 people on board, only an 8-year-old girl survived, though she suffered numerous severe injuries. Now, I've added another mode of transport.
Wait. That's actually crazy. 45 people on the bus and an 8-year-old survived. An 8-year-old. Like, I'm glad she survived, bro. But you'd think like an 8-year-old would die from impact, the fight, you know what I mean? You'd think that someone survived would be like someone, I don't know, someone strong and able to get out of the situation. I don't know. Mad.
Though she suffered numerous
You meant
severe
to do some big
injuries.
facts.
Now, I've added another mode of transport to my travel
Wow.
phobias. Speaking of which, my fear of planes isn't without reason. The story of the 9 skydivers is one of the rare instances where someone managed to survive a crash. Bye. That's what 22-year-old Burcu Salam wrote in her Instagram story on December 1st, 2022. In the photo, she's smiling in the airplane cabin, enjoying the views.
Okay.
It was a sightseeing flight over Turkey, but her farewell turned out to be prophetic. At the controls of the TC-UHY aircraft was Hakan Koksal, the president of the Uniceli Supportive Aviation Association and an experienced pilot. What could possibly go wrong? They took off from the runway in Bursa, but just 15 minutes later, when the plane was at an altitude of 1,200 meters, it stopped responding to the controllers. They simply vanished. And minutes later, horrifying footage appeared online showing the plane clipping a 380,000-volt power line in Osman Ghazi
Oh, shit.
and exploding. Local authorities said one passenger passed away when the plane caught fire, and another ejected but still lost their life on impact. To this day, the exact cause of the crash remains unknown. Yet it might have been due to weather deterioration or sudden technical issues. Otherwise, no pilot would have descended so low near power lines. Just look at the wreckage of the plane after the crash. It's terrifying to imagine what happened to the bodies of the victims.
Holy.
The Salam family didn't even know their daughter was on the plane that day. They only found out about the incident when the police called to inform them of her death. Her body was so disfigured that her father identified her only by the jewelry she was wearing that day. Nonetheless, there's an even more dangerous flying apparatus than a plane. A homemade aircraft cobbled together from spare parts.
Okay. Why would you? I don't even know I don't even need to know the rest of the story, bro. Why would you go on that? Why would you go on that?
Than a plane. A homemade aircraft cobbled together from spare parts. Ismail Shaikh Ibrahim, a 24-year-old Indian guy from Phulswangi in Magaon, was obsessed with the idea of putting his small village on the map. Inspired by Rancho's character in the movie 3 Idiots, where Rancho builds a small drone from scratch, Ismail decided he wanted to do something unique too. So, he resolved to build a helicopter by himself. He began gathering information about helicopter construction and assembly, watching numerous YouTube videos on the topic. It took him nearly 2 years to collect all the necessary parts. In 2021, after all his hard work, Ismail created a prototype single-seat helicopter and installed an engine from a Maruti 800, one of India's most popular cars. However, a car engine doesn't have the specs or power of a helicopter engine. Still, Ismail thought it was no big deal, as he made a relatively small experimental version just to lift off the ground briefly. For a sensation, that would be enough. Ismail wanted to showcase his helicopter to the whole village and put on an epic show for Indian Independence Day, so he decided to test it near his workshop. On August 10th, in front of his friends, they eagerly awaited this moment and started recording everything on their phones. Ismail fired up the engine, and the rotor blades began spinning rapidly when suddenly, no, the engine wasn't the problem. It came from where they least expected it. The tail rotor blade broke off and struck the main rotor blades above. Before anyone could react, the broken blade flew into the cockpit. Since this was a prototype, Ismail hadn't installed doors in the cockpit, as that would have required more time and parts.
Oh my God.
He didn't plan on full-fledged flying or performing stunts, so he was sure he wouldn't fall out. However, he never imagined that doors could have saved him, because when that piece of the blade flew inside at high speed, it slashed his throat, causing instant death. Terrified, his friends immediately rushed to him and took him to the nearest hospital. Yet it was already too late. Ismail passed away before receiving medical help. This tragic coincidence led to the death of a young man who was just pursuing his dream.
Wow.
Each of today's stories is horrifying in its own way, but this last
Bro,
one...
listen. Look, he's definitely smart, you know what I'm saying? To make that from scrap, smart. But I wouldn't go in it. You couldn't pay me enough money to go in that. Nah, no way. No way. He should have got a job at helicopters.com or something, bro. You should, I know, bro. I know. In a way, I'm touching that.
strikes me as the most tragic.
You want one?
Which of these incidents shocked you the most?
Hell no, bro. Jesus. That was smart but dumb.